Hello everybody, this is Sarah Scott here with Leonard Muellner, and we're looking at some of the discussion that's been happening in the HeroesX forum and just discussing some of the points that have come up. Thanks for joining us, Lenny.
Nice to be here.
Okay, to start with, we're looking at one of the threads where they're discussing Oedipus and the swollen foot, and literally that when somebody was maybe starving because they were very poor, your feet could swell, and that might be one reason why children were left out in the wilderness. But that doesn't really apply here with Oedipus, does it?
Well, I think there's something important about there's something that runs in the family of Oedipus that has to do with this notion of having trouble with your feet and disconnecting. Some of it has to do with not being able to walk properly. So his father's name is Laios, which is a word for being clumsy on your feet, but there's also his grandfather Labakos, who gave his name to the whole family of Oedipus. The Labda kids is what they're called. Labakos his name comes from the Greek letter lambda. The capital lambda looks like an upside down V. This is the one we write it. We have in medieval writing, it has a line and then an upside down V, but in the archaic Greek alphabet, it's an upside down V, and it's supposed to refer to people who can't walk with their legs, both legs being stiff. So it's another kind of defective walking. So there's people have talked about this in terms of relationship to the Mother Earth, okay, and not detaching oneself properly from the earth. But there's also, lameness can also be a metaphor for it in different contexts. It means different things. And I'm not saying it necessarily means this in the Oedipus context, but for example, there's the example of Hephaistos, who's that you brought up, Sarah, when we were talking about this a moment ago, who's a god who's lame in both legs. And that's associated with impotence, that kind of lameness. And it's supposed to be, you may remember in the beginning of the Iliad, where Zeus throws Hephaistos down from the divine threshold. This throwing a god down a level is that's a metaphorical way of describing also for Zeus to throw the thunderbolt at a god. He can pick you up by the leg and throw you down. And thunderbolting is being thunderbolted by a god regularly induces lameness. There's another character who you may know about. That's the father of Aeneas, whose name is Anchises, who was seduced by Aphrodite. And when Aphrodite seduces him, she tells him that she's disgraced by the fact that she's had sex with a mortal, and that he mustn't say anything about it, or he will become a victim of the mēnis of the gods, of Zeus, I believe he says. Anyhow, what happens to Anchises is that he does reveal that he had sex with Aphrodite, and he is a lame person. That's why his son Aeneas carries him on his shoulders out of the burning city of Troy. You may have seen there are famous statues of Aeneas carrying his father, and that this is the same phenomenon of lameness, of being struck by a thunderbolt. So it's one or another kind of taboo behavior that results in the striking by the thunderbolt. I'm not saying that this is what's going on with Oedipus, but you can see that there are multiple dimensions to one symbolic, one feature, and the symbol can mean different things in different contexts. So this may be helpful or confusing, I'm not sure, but it's good to know that that you need to be careful about the context in which you're interpreting symbolic actions and symbolic representations, right? Just just like when you're interpreting words and understanding them. Okay.
I was quite fascinated by this whole family connection. This is something that we see quite often, that whole family has some sort of apparent behaviour that gets played out in different ways in each generation, and here we've got something to do with the walking.
Exactly.
But I was also reminded of something that came up when I was first taking HeroesX version 1, and you were talking about how when he first comes on stage, he's being led by a boy, and how it refers to the riddle of the Sphinx. What if you just remind people what that is?
Yes, in front of you in the opening of the play, there's a little boy. There are also older men who are the priests of the class, and then there are young boys. And you have the same thing when Tiresias comes on the scene. He's an old blind man, and there's a young girl, I believe, is leading him. It may be a boy too, I'm not sure. My memory's a little bit fuzzy. But also there's Oedipus. So you have the three: the adult male who needs nothing to support him, right? And the Tiresias who's being led by a young child who so you have the three generations: the child, the adult, and the old person embodied visually on stage in two sequential scenes, right in the play, really. Okay, so it's a subtle, beautifully interesting message that's being conveyed. Yep.
Which brings us on to the other thread that we were looking at, which is discussing, particularly in the Oedipus at Colonus, how Oedipus sits down, stands up, and goes through a range of motions, and what that meaning is of ortho, make straight, standing up, erection, resurrection, and all those sorts of connotations.
Right. I mean, I think in the end there's this amazing, in the play begins with him sitting down in a place that's taboo, right? And he doesn't realize it, and he hasn't done it on purpose, right? It's Oedipus enacting his whole situation, right? Without knowing where he is, he's sat down in exactly the wrong place, just in the same way as without knowing he married and had sex with his own mother, right? This is the same sort of thing, and at first he doesn't want to move, and then he responds to what's going on there. But so in this, you have this beautifully described pattern in the post, and there's a very big contrast to what happens at the end when he walks to the light of the threshold, that special secret place where he gets translated into another state, right? And he has no more problem walking or standing on his own, right? He's gone from being the man who needs the young person to the old man who needs the young person to lean on, okay, and to help him, to being somebody who's transformed to being erect and standing up. And so I think it's a beautifully articulated insight that the person has come upon. Yep. So the problems of walking get solved in the play, and also the problems of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? And this is the theme that the hero's course is so beautifully articulates and demonstrates, right? In the moment of death, the hero, all the things come together. Yeah.
And that then perhaps says something about what that hero would be as a cult hero. Would they be particularly associated with those sorts of polluting actions and solving them, or would they be slightly more general, because we know this is a place that's already shared and it's got good associations already?
Right. It's about, yes, so these heroes are socially beneficial, right? They may have in their mythical life been very destructive and suffered a great deal, but their suffering serves to help the society when they're on the other side of it, right? And they're saviors, as I think that's the notion, that somehow all the misery that they've gone through is ultimately something that gets turned into positive things for us, and our understanding of how human life should be better composed and produce less pain and suffering.
And it's associated also with decay, with justice, isn't it? And that metaphor of being straight.
Straight, yes, exactly. This standard metaphor is not only should just things be straight and straight up, but also unjust people are crooked, and they bend the rules. All these are regnant metaphors in the mythological tradition in Greek about the way justice works. So here you can see it metaphorized, so to speak, in the way a human being can stand up straight, right? So there's a just end to him, and he becomes something positive for the world, and his suffering gets redeemed somehow, right? Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well,
It
thank
is
you.
beautiful.
Thanks very much, Lenny.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's always a pleasure.
Okay.